Welcome everyone to this evening's webinar sponsored by the National Network of State Teachers of the Year. The name of our webinar this evening is How to Use Technology to Address Non-Traditional Learning. And we have two field experts that will be giving us a wonderful presentation, starting with Curtis Chandler, who was the 2011 Kansas State Teacher of the Year, and Cameron McKinley, who was the 2007 Alabama State Teacher of the Year. We are happy to have you both, and you can now get started.
All right. Well, welcome everybody, and thank you so much for joining us. I'm Curtis Chandler, and I get the privilege and opportunity to address you first. This is what we'll be talking about, how to use technology to address non-traditional learning. I taught in Kansas and consulted around the country for several years, and now I'm at BYU, Idaho, and I get the opportunity to go into a lot of classrooms, work with undergraduate students, as well as with teachers and students, and kick around some of these ideas we have for how to better integrate technology. If you want to get a hold of me, you can always come back to this slide or to this information. You can follow me or reach me on Twitter. My website's listed there as well as my email. This is kind of my my major premise here. It's my opportunity to go into schools and talk to students and ask them, what does teaching really look like in your school? It's interesting to get the teacher's perspective, but it's more interesting to get the student's perspective. And so oftentimes I'll have students just draw, what does it look like when teaching occurs in your school? And so if you take a minute to kind of guess what students might draw, the majority of students tend to draw something like this, a very traditional learning environment, where you have the teacher up front engaged in some sort of teacher-centric behavior. And this looks like a blackboard in the back and students on their desks falling asleep. But you could just as easily switch out some pretty cool technology. The blackboard could be a smart board or some interactive surface. The kids could have Chromebooks or laptops or iPads or even their own phones in front of them. But this is still a traditional model. And so what I'm looking for is ways that we can use technology to better prepare and participate actively in class, how we can improve our students' in-class engagement, how we can allow students to explain and share their thinking, and of course encourage them to reflect and apply knowledge in the real world. So this is what I'm on the hunt for when I work with undergraduate students, but more importantly when I'm working with teachers and with students. And I'm very privileged to be at a university that is emphasizing a non-traditional model. Up at BYU, Idaho, they have three aspects of learning that we're really trying to push. So yellow, of course, is to prepare for participation in class. Blue, to participate and to teach one another. And the green rather, to ponder and to prove it, what we've learned in the real world. And so if you look at this traditional model, what we really tend to emphasize when we come at it from a traditional standpoint, we're really just concerned about what goes on in class, how to get kids to participate in the learning process. And there is much more opportunity to do much more than that. So one thing I like to emphasize is the opportunity for students to be able to teach. And so just to give you a few examples, we can take activities that we ask students to do, for example, create a mental model, a diagram, a concept map, snap a picture of that with a webcam or their phone, and then just drop that right into a Google Doc. So now it's gone from a picture that I have to a picture that can be shared for other people. The next layer becomes inviting students to use Vocaroo, a web-based service where they can go and record their voice to explain the different aspects of their diagram, their concept map, or whatever. So it's not just an opportunity to create and turn something in, it's a chance to explain and maybe teach and share that with other people. And once you do that at Vocaroo, it does give you a URL that you can just copy and paste right into a Google Doc. So technology, we've always asked students to draw and to give insight to their thinking. Now we have the opportunity to record their voice, have them explain that, and then to share that with the class or with people around the world. So that's one way we can use very simple web-based technology to add an extra layer on top of that. I'm excited to be in schools because I see that teachers are catching on this need to really foster creativity. This is an assignment I walked by, was visiting a classroom today, and the classroom next to us was doing this My Invention assignment. So you can tell this is in Idaho because this student wants to invent heated shoes. It's relatively cold up here this time of the year and for a long time. So I can see teachers asking students to do more creative type activities, but the question becomes, how can you really accelerate that and accentuate that using technology? How can you enhance and augment that? So if we take those same tools, we could ask kids to write critically about their own design or invention, write critically about the work of others, and then maybe go and record that with another web-based or app-based podcasting service like audiobooks. So I write it, then I rehearse it and record it, and then create some sort of clip art or a graphic that goes with it. So it's really just a matter of sequence. This time, instead of starting with a drawing, we start with the thinking, which manifests itself in terms of writing, add an audio layer, and then add the picture to go along with it. But again, we're trying to emphasize the opportunity for students to participate and create something that can be used to share or to teach somebody else. And that's where I see some of the real power to improve the participation and the teaching opportunities for students in class. And so other ideas we've played around with undergraduates and with teachers and in schools is obviously collaborative note-taking with Google Slides. We ask students to take notes. It's something that we all agree is important, but very few of us can get it to run effectively. So why not load up a Google Doc and then say, look, I really want you to keep track of important terms and concepts. We give them a template that can be used where they come up with the definition and characteristics of the term, where they create a picture that helps them remember, understand it, give examples, non-examples, and implications in the real world. And then, of course, we're going to go through and work with students to create a few of those. So I do it, we do it, and eventually they do it. And it's neat to watch students transition from taking notes with me to identifying important terms and concepts, and then creating these slides, these study slides that they can use to go back and revisit and review concepts and put those into practice later on. As far as technology for assessments, we use it for both summative and formative. We like to have our students have all these terms through their study slides and then create a great big concept map and then record that map as they talk and explain the different parts of it. So here's just an example of a student create a project where they're explaining some of the isms. They drew it, then they explain it.
I'm Shane Comer.
And I'm John Tensler.
And today we're going to talk about the 4 major theories of learning. We'll start by talking about behaviorism. And behaviorism is the idea.
So to scroll through, I mean, you've got crude graphics, but they're student-created non-linguistic representations. And what I really like is not only do I get to see what's going on, I can hear their thought process. It's a chance to have our students metacognate and really think aloud, explain how they're relating concepts and how they think they relate. So again, they're just drawing it and then using a YouTube quick capture or just their phones or their webcams to capture that. And then they upload, they get that link off of YouTube and then they share that with the other students. Let's see what else we've got here. As far as concept mapping, one of my favorite cheap tools that kids can access anywhere is Coggle. It lets them create a central term or concept, and they can create sub-concepts and define those and show how they interrelate and connect. Not a new tool, but definitely getting better and better in the past 6 months where it's been around a couple of years. And my students seem to really enjoy it as well. I think that's the real power is we're able to try out tools, different tools with students and get their feedback and say, hey, this is what I need you to do. What are the tools and the ways that you really think can help us do this more effectively? And students are fantastic at offering feedback at how to improve the lesson, but also which technologies could be used. And we're trying to use technology as well to help them prepare for class. One of my favorite things to use is something that's been around for quite a while, Google Voice. So this gets them to prepare for class and really put concepts into practice in the real world. So I sign up at Google Voice, and it gives me a number to give my students. So it's a number, a fake phone number that they can call and leave messages, text messages, take pictures, and they send them to me. Not to my real phone, but to my Google Voice account. So I can put a phone number as a barrier between myself and them so they're not flooding my own phone with texts and emails, but it does give them an easy way to call in and record their thoughts or show pictures with me, or as well as just leave voice messages. And so you think, what would you do with that? I often have students leave a short summary, has to be less than 3 minutes of a required reading assignment. I want to know they read it, and I want to know what they're gleaning and gathering from it. I can also have students share 2 questions that they have based on that reading. And it's neat to put those 2 together. What did you read and what are you thinking about at this point? So when they come through the door, I've already heard where they're at and where they want to go at this point. And so Google Voice is an easy, fantastic tool because whether or not my students have technology, and oftentimes they don't, this is a low-tech option. I give them a phone number that they can call from any phone, smart or dumb, and record what it is that they've read and also their questions and insights. By far, I'd suggest Padlet because we don't need usernames or passwords. Kids can start class, I give them a question at the top, and they can brainstorm their own ideas. Or maybe after class, they can apply what's been learned in the real world. So we studied different behavioral models and instructional models, different isms. And so we asked students, okay, we've studied this one, this one, this one, and this one, but we've learned this one. So how does this concept relate to these? Well, if you create a Padlet and make this your picture in the background, you can let kids place where they think it relates. So once again, they can post their thoughts, but they can also post it in relation to where they think it is. So if they think this new concept is closely related to behaviorism and constructivism, they'd place it here. If they think the new concept is related to cognitivism and constructivism, they'd place it in the middle. So it's not only what they place or what they put, it's where they place it that shows a visual representation of how your students are associating the new things that they're learning. After class, we can use Google Voice as well. We can have students call and text in their big takeaways, their lingering questions. We can have them take vocabulary picks where we've studied these concepts and we say, go out into the real world, find some examples of this in practice. So when we teach thermal energy, chemical energy, kinetic energy, we have a student who found a pretty good example of thermal energy. They found a picture of hot chocolate and they texted that to me or to my Google Voice number. Chemical energy, plants at work. So then you give them a challenge. So what would kinetic energy look like? Act that out, take a picture and send it to me, or call in and explain that to me. And they can do that through the Google Voice number that I provide them. We've talked about Padlets, so let's just kind of wrap it up there. I mean, really, I'm on the hunt for ways that I can help kids participate more actively in class. I want to improve their in-class engagement, and I want them to be able to explain and share their thinking. Last and certainly not least, I want them to be able to reflect and apply the knowledge in the real world. And so when we look at traditional learning, which tends to focus on what goes in class, we can leverage technology to improve what's going on in class, but also to help them better prepare and then reflect on learning in the long run. And so with that, I'll turn the time over to Cameron.
Cameron, are you there? There's a pause. I think Cameron, she has her mute button on. So if you can hear me, Cameron, you have to unmute yourself. She hasn't fallen off of the webinar because she is still present and actually visible at the top of the screen. So I'm not sure that that's the issue. Curtis, is there anything else that you want to add? And then Joe is going to get in touch with her. Are there any other things, points that you can touch upon?
Oh, absolutely. I think the real challenge is with the group of students that I work with, we have very limited technology. But one of the things that all students seem to have access to is a phone. So often I find myself designing activities this way. I know what I want them to be able to do and the exciting activities we can do together in class. And then I figure out on the other end, what's the technology they're most likely to have. And so when I go to select apps, software, hardware, and things like that, it has to be mirroring those two things. I know where I want students to be able to go and often how to get there, but the device is often a question. And so at this point, and for the next several years, I think the one device we need to tap into more than anything, Chromebooks have a place, iPads have a place, but phones are the device that our students are carrying around the most. And so whatever technology our students are using the most, that seems to be the jumping off point, but always making it as accessible to different students with different devices as often as we can. So finding programs and plugins that are device independent, that work on any web-based platform, that often don't require students to have their own usernames and passwords. And so those seem to be the tools that I enjoy, and more importantly, the tools that our students seem to appreciate. When there's not a lot of work on the front end, signing in, creating, authenticating, re-authenticating, where it's just they can go to one site, share, collaborate, and then get on with their lives. So.
Okay, and as we're waiting for Cameron to return, if any of us have any questions, please feel free to unmute yourself and you can begin to ask questions. And I will start, Curtis, with one question is, what is the bottom line for students in terms of their grades when you begin to integrate things like this? and then they begin to use these things and have another way of learning. Does that translate into higher grades and or more engagement in the classroom because of this?
Well, one of the main things I see is because the opportunity to create and share with other students isn't something they get to do very often, there is a higher level of engagement immediately. I'll be honest, what I do find is if we don't structure it and make it very explicit, these are the learning goals and objectives. Now, how can we make that happen with technology? It often becomes more about the technology and not so much about the learning objectives. And so I find myself and the leeway really comes on how are you going to get there? Are you sure you can get there with this tool that you're using? And so overall, I think achievement does go up. I think they're really excited on the front end. They continue to engage in that rigorous learning as long as they know exactly what's expected of them, and oftentimes have really good examples of what it could look like, an exemplar example, kind of a mid-grade one, and one that's really not checking in there. So I like to keep a bank of student samples to show them, hey, this is an exceptional project. What makes it exceptional? Rather than just have them guess what's in my head.
Okay, it looks like we found Cameron.
I don't know what happened. The minute he stopped sharing the screen, I lost all control, but I'm back.
You're back. I'm muting myself. Here we go.
Okay, hi everyone. Sorry about that. I'm Cameron McKinley, and you can reach me at camruns@gmail.com or on Twitter at @camruns. I'm a technology coach for Hoover City Schools, and this presentation will be available at the end. One important thing, though, I also am as a parent, in addition to being a teacher and a tech coach. And so these are my 3 kids. This is a senior, so I'm going through all that senior things, trying to find colleges and that kind of thing. This is a sophomore in high school, and this is an 8th grader. My girl is an 8th grader. And I put them up here because I see things as a parent as well. And these two, my 2 boys are taking virtual classes, so that I would consider a non-traditional learning method. And so I get their perspective on what's good about it, what's bad about it, what they like. So I'll kind of try to throw that in as I go along. A little bit about our district. We are one-to-one, but the things I showed today hopefully will be able to be used whether you're one-to-one or not. We're one-to-one Chromebooks, grades 3 through 12, and our K2s have refurbished Chromebooks. And serving all these, we have 7 technicians. They do the break fix, 7 instructional coaches who are teachers, and then ELI stands for Engaged Learning Facilitators. And so what did we want? Just like Curtis said, we wanted engaged learning, we wanted everywhere learning all the time, and of course differentiated and personalized, which technology allows us to do. So why all this push to all technology? Well, part of it was the backpacks were getting a little big at Hoover with all the information, so we want to kind of ease up our kids' back so we don't have to have surgery before they're 14. And then things have changed. This picture I love, and then the teacher said, you may take notes. This is kind of what we're dealing with now. Note taking is different. The way they learn is different. The access to information is different. So we kind of implement the D-SAMR model. A lot of people have probably heard of SAMR, but a real important part of that is the dabbling. Every time something new comes out, you have to give people time to play with it, to see how it fits into their classroom, if it works, if it doesn't, kind of like Curtis was saying, let the kids show you what works and what doesn't, what tools. And this is shown in a circular motion because things change, new things are introduced, and you may have to go through the whole process again. So when we went all Google Apps and one-to-one, I kind of want to say it's easy as 1, 2, 3, but if any of my peeps are out there listening, they're like, okay, it wasn't always easy, but we started with step 1, and if SAMR, that would be dabbling, maybe just substituting some things and augmenting. So we started with, just like Curtis said, collaboration in Google Apps. It's very powerful, and it allowed us to differentiate and personalize. Then we moved toward more engaged learning with modification, maybe using some apps and extensions to modify that learning. And we're hoping to move towards transformational teaching where it's redefined, maybe gamification blended in virtual learning. So some examples of that, if you want to participate in this little link, you can go to bit.ly/teachform1, and that will just take you to a Google form. And that Google form is just to collect information. And if you haven't used Google Forms, it's very easy to use, and you should give it a try, because there are so many powerful things you can do once you collect information. You can immediately see the level of the people you're working with. You can gather contact information, but so much more. So I'll show you some, the reason I'm asking for some location information is because I want to demo something called Fusion Tables, which will use your location data. So that's pretty cool. And then you can get immediate responses with the results. And so we use those digital results in multiple ways. And I'm going to kind of pull over here. I already had some folks fill this out ahead of time, and I was able to take all the information using an app called Fusion Tables, and it makes cards, and it makes a map with the location data, so we can see that people from all over the country are listening to this. And we go all the way from California to Georgia with this webinar. And that was able to be done in just like a second by me taking the data from that form and turning it into a map. And I'll show you how teachers are using that in just a minute. And then we have our shared documents for collaboration, peer editing. We use it for train the trainer. So let's see what that looks like. When we first started this, we thought, what is the simplest way we can deliver content? And it was a Google Doc. So this is simply a Google Doc, and it has links to videos and presentations and forms to capture their information. And here's another example of one here. And the reason we did it this way is because we were doing a train the trainer model. And so we wanted the trainers to just go file, make a copy, edit this for their training, and re-deliver this in a Google Doc. And so they had immediate links to quick extensions we thought would help them in the classroom. And the other reason we did it this way is we hoped we were modeling it for teachers. So maybe they would think, hey, I could simply share some information in a Google Doc, guide my students to where they need to go, allow collaboration, allow commenting. And so it was simple, but it was very powerful. And the turnaround training went real well. And they were able to do this again with their students. So that's kind of a simple way. This is a teacher here that I just saw on the Discovery Education webinar. And if you haven't watched some of the Discovery Education fall webinars, they're amazing. And this is a bunch of students, they've picked different colors for themselves, collaborating in a document on how to make a ziggurat. And they have a split screen situation going on so that they can research on one side and collaborate on the other. And so this teacher who's talking about this is talking about how her class was totally quiet while this was going on, but yet all the kids were engaged in collaboration. So that's kind of interesting, quiet collaboration. And then later, of course, when they were building the ziggurats, it was probably not so quiet. But we also use these Google Docs again. This is Jennifer Hogan, who's one of our assistant principals, delivered professional learning this way. And I thought what was important about this is she said choose. You can choose some of these things. And she provided links to amazing articles and videos, and accountability by, okay, so choice and then accountability by having them do a Google form or having them use some of the tools to actually, whoops, I clicked, to actually show that they actually gleaned something from what they learned. So I thought this was another way to model for teachers, letting them do professional development with choice and using Google Forms or other forms of assessment that aren't necessarily multiple choice. And maybe they would model that for their teachers. Twitter bingo is another way. You get people involved in kind of fun if you do these Twitter things and tweet Spain Park Pride, then we get some, connect with the community for what's going on out there. And again, that was just a Google Doc and bringing Twitter in. So just some easy ways. We went ahead and transferred this to students. They used a Google form for an art walk. The interactive instructions were on the form. You can embed Google videos into a form. And then they just emailed. Blogger has a feature that you can just send an email and it'll appear on the blog. And that's very easy to set up. I'll provide some tutorials for that. So they were emailing to the blog some exciting things that they were seeing on the art walk. And you can see they had to had some accountability as to what they were seeing. And then when they emailed the blog, other people could learn from them. And again, we know that when students teach others, as Curtis said earlier, that's how they learn best. So we moved from that step one, substituting documents to a little more engaged learning. And we use some of these apps and add-ons to help you teach anywhere and help kids teach anywhere and learn anywhere. So when we share out this presentation, each of these will go to a link to one of these add-ons so that you can test them out and see if they work for you in your classroom. And if you click the more here, it'll go to a presentation that has even more apps and extensions, since we don't have 5 hours here tonight. So, but I want to show you, the first one is my favorite. It's Screencastify. People have been screen recording forever, but this is so easy. This little guy right here, if I click it, I can start making a video right now of whatever I'm saying. I can include my face or not, and everything I'm doing on the screen. So this is one of our science teachers, and she says there's 3 reasons she uses this. One of them was student presentations take too much time. So she had her students record their presentations on Screencastify and post them in Google Classroom, and the students would watch and then respond with questions for the presenter, and then they could answer the questions. Also, she did a field trip where only half the class went, the other half was still there. So she did a lesson she recorded her lesson. They could watch it, interact, provide feedback while the other half of the class was gone. And finally, she just said, I'm sick of repeating myself over and over. So she would record guidelines for them, and that way if they didn't know what she said, they could play it again. And so those were 3 reasons she used it, but it's really turned out to be great. And for one of my kids who doesn't really like to present in front of others, this was great. He could practice it, get it done properly, think about it, and get it done properly so that he could post it and get feedback from other classmates. So that was Screencastify app. Again, if you click here, you'll go straight to it. You can see her example here. And also, you can upload these videos to YouTube in addition to having them saved automatically to your Google Drive. And this teacher embedded this video made on Screencastify right into the form so that if they didn't know how to put a link to an image, they could watch this video. It's called Just-in-Time Learning. They could embed it into the Google form, and then the kids know how to get that link ready. So those are just a few ways to use that one. Draftback. I love this description, the archaeology of great writing. How many times you wish you could get into the mind of students and wonder how it was when they were creating their paper, what was going through their mind? Well, Draftback lets you actually, Google Docs have revision history, and you can go back and see who did what when. That's especially good for collaboration and so forth. But Draftback kind of plays it back like a movie, so you can kind of see the paper created in front of your eyes. So if you want, I've got a link, and any of these are going to be some links in the notes to teachers using this. And this is an amazing teacher, Chris Avilas. He has some great ways that he uses revision history, and he also mentions the Draftback app here. And then he also uses Kaizena, and we have some teachers here using this too, and this allows you to offer voice feedback. So he said that it made his classroom a more positive place because they could hear the inflection in his voice, not just red marks. They could actually hear him talking about their paper and some suggestions for them. So, and also if the parent was listening too, they could hear the great positivity in the voice and feel good about it. So these are just 2 more extensions, Kaizena and Draftback, that can help you really communicate with students. And they could do this as well in a peer editing situation. The fusion tables is what I just showed you when I showed you your locations. I'm going to show you how one of our teachers used this. This is a French teacher. She basically, I'm going to kind of show you the form she used. She used this form. Her students did research on Paris landmarks, and they did all this research and entered on the form. And all Google Forms put all their data into one spreadsheet. And that spreadsheet can be used for the fusion table, like I showed you earlier. And now, each one of these place marks has the picture and all the information that the students researched. So we have an interactive map where people could learn, and this could have videos in it, it could have whatever you wanted, created in about 2 minutes from the data gathered by the form. Want to take that a step further, you can go ahead and make a QR code with one of these extensions, and people could scan it and take the map with them. Actually scan it and take this interactive map of information with them. So these are powerful ways. She did this at a parent meeting. She had all the students research the colleges and universities that require foreign language and how many years. They put it into a Google form, use Fusion Table app to make this map in a few minutes, publish the map, and put it on the screen. And then they did this QR code so parents could scan it, take it with them, and know which colleges needed what. So that was kind of to promote the foreign language program. So that's Fusion Tables. Again, when you have this presentation, you can play with a data set here or try a tutorial. It's not hard. So hopefully you will get a chance to try that if that's something that you are thinking you might be able to use. Video notes. What is interesting about this is that we've been talking a lot about making videos, having students make them, having teachers make them, but maybe sometimes you don't want them to watch the whole thing. Maybe they just need one key concept. Well, video notes lets you synchronize notes with places in the video. So if I clicked right here, it would take me to that part in the video where that piece is being talked about. And this is, again, just a little plugin that you use. And as your YouTube video is playing here on the left, you're typing notes on the right, and it synchronizes it. And you can share this with students so they can easily go to the parts of the video that you need them to do. Or they could do that for you if they create a video and you want them to show you the most important parts or what they learned from a video. So again, just another way to assess and hold them accountable for their learning and what they're learning, and to show it, or to guide them to the resources that they need to learn best. So that's video notes. And again, I've kind of been throwing out QR codes in the middle of this, but anytime you want to, I showed you this one QR code extension, but I could use this one, and it will give me not only my shortened URL, but also my QR code here that I can copy and paste into another document like I did here. So there are some, I don't know if you've ever come across a QR code that you don't know where the website is, you don't have a scanner. This decoder allows you to right-click the QR code and decode it. So that's kind of cool as well. Let me see if it'll work here. Yeah, I can decode that, and it'll tell me what the actual, oh, well, it won't on this one because I think I'm in the middle of this presentation. But if this went to an actual website, it would show you the actual link to it. And remember, if you come up to this presentation, any of these links will take you right to the source to load that and try it out on your own if you'd like to. When you're researching and you need that double screen and you don't have one, Tab Resize Split Screen will allow you simply click it and it'll split the screen into any layout you want. 2 bars up, vertical, horizontal, 4, if you want to look at 4 screens at once. So that's been very helpful for students who are researching on one side, or maybe looking at your instructions on one side and creating on the other, because as Curtis said, it's important that they be able to create. And a lot of times, as we know, that takes multiple screens and tabs open to get the information you need and cull it down into what you want to create. Fresh Start, Joe Fothery, who I think is on, we'll see his name in here. I was listening to him give all these ideas one day, and I had all these tabs open, and I had to go somewhere. So I basically just named it Joe Fothery because that's who I was talking to. I decided what links I wanted to save from whichever browser window I have open, and I basically click save, and the next time I go to this, if I want to go right back where I was, I can open that. And I could also share it with someone else. So that's kind of neat. Also, if you have a lot of students researching and you want them to share their research with you quickly, they can use one tab, which does exactly what it says. It funnels all the links that you have open into one tab, and then you can share that as a web page. And remember, anytime you share something as a web page, you could quickly get a QR code for it if you wanted your attendees to scan it and have the links. So there's a lot of ways that we can share information, and you can go and look at some of the other ones. Finally, I just want to end with the transformational things, a few things with gamification, blended learning, virtual learning. One of the things that I think is really amazing is Breakout EDU. I don't know if any of you have had Breakout come to you. We have Breakout Birmingham. My daughter went to a birthday party there. I'm sure they paid a fortune to do it, to be locked in a room and problem solve challenges to get out with a group. So they're collaborating and problem solving. So let's just look real quick at this video to see what it's all about.
Tired of students sitting in rows bubbling in worksheets? Introducing Breakout EDU. Breakout EDU is a revolutionary new product that allows educators to bring gaming into the classroom in a meaningful way. Breakout EDU is great for getting learners out of their seats and moving around. Each game requires critical thinking, collaboration, and creativity. Breakout EDU is great for learners of all ages, including adults. Each game is centered around the Breakout EDU box, and players have a set amount of time to open the box. During a game, players need to successfully navigate a series of mysteries and solve engaging problems. All games feature a blend of physical and online puzzles. Each Breakout kit comes with a physical box and a series of blocks and other items that can be used to play any of the Breakout EDU games. New games are being added to the store on a regular basis, and there are many free games to get you started. Teachers and students can also use the online templates to design their own games. The Breakout EDU kit can be purchased directly from the website or can be assembled using the open source instructions. Learning has never been this much fun, and the classroom will never be the same again. Every classroom needs a Breakout EDU kit. Let's reinvent education together. Breakout EDU. It's time for something different.
So my daughter had such fun at that birthday party that when I ordered my kit, she wanted to invite kids over and solve this science challenge with this kit. So yes, it's engaging. Here's some students who have broken out. And having them design their own games, telling them what the standards are and what kind of challenges they might use to unlock. There's word locks and different keywords they can get. And so it's a lot of fun. So you might want to check that out. There's already games in every subject. Google Hangouts, another way to bring professionals in. We brought a professional in for the Hour of Code from Google, but we also, you can leave a room always open so that you could chat with other schools and ask a question and have them answer. I have a room always open with some friends of mine, teachers that are all over the country, and when I have a question about something technology related and I ask them, it's always somebody is going to come and answer right away. So, and this is how we brought in a live chat here. You can bring people into your classroom. I don't know if you've tried Google Cardboard. I have mine with me here, but it is amazing, and you can actually use the Discovery virtual reality app with it, and it's like you're driving. This was the Discovery virtual con. I recorded this with Screencastify, but I'm going to show you this. He's doing this on his phone.
McKinley Creek. Now notice, again, if you see this, wherever I move my phone is where I look, and that's the whole idea. Oh, my dad loves me. So
okay, so you can see
here as you scroll around is he's talking. He's telling me something. He's telling me where to look, and he's walking out. I can turn. I can see the truck that he's in.
Okay, that's a virtual reality, and then he shows that you can put it in cardboard too. So there's these amazing adventures, and it doesn't seem like it would really be amazing, but it is. You hand somebody this cardboard, and you're exploring the Smithsonian. You feel like you're there. So these could be made. Our engineering group made these little Google Cardboard things for less than $20 a piece, probably about less than $15 a piece. Or you can order them, or you can make it a project. But it's amazing. Google Expeditions is coming around now, where you actually can take a guided tour of places, and they've got 100 engaging journeys right now. This is going to be coming out. If it's not near you now, it will be. Adventure learning, where you can follow field trips. So when we're talking about using technology to engage students and do some kind of non-traditional learning, these are kinds of some of the things that I think really would engage students. They are following this travel journey. They can actually go on this virtual field trip. And this is just some of the facts from this. They kept up with their teacher's expedition, and it turned out that from this study here, students self-reported that their motivation significantly increased following this adventure learning, and they did much better on a test of knowledge about Africa after they did the project. So that's something you can look at. I'm not going to go through all my slides, but you're welcome to look at them at the end. But Google Classroom, an easy way. If you haven't tried this or your school has not gone Google, it's free. You should consider it. And this is a link to some amazing classroom tips from Linda Hockenberry, who's another Google certified teacher. But notice this, each student gets a copy. You can easily deliver content, find out how students are doing, have them collaborating. So we use it for professional development as well. And this group actually used it. You see they're doing professional development in their pajamas. They're going to Google Classroom and doing these assignments, and they're actually getting PD credit in their pajamas. So I thought that was cool. And then if you want to know more about any of the gamification, this teacher is an excellent teacher to look at. He's got some articles, some examples from his classroom about how they can earn these points in his class. Actually, these are things they can use to purchase stuff in class. So, and then we have started a virtual school called Engage, and these are some of the things we offer. We'll be offering everything by next year. So that's going exciting. I told you my two sons are doing that now. They are doing it so they can take more electives and more classes that they wanted to do. So one's taking virtual German, and I hear him, he speaks German on one of the recording tools like Curtis was talking about earlier. And my other one's taking government. And he's still able to collaborate online, but he's able to do theater and some other things, engineering academy, things that he wanted to do because he has that option to take some of his classes virtually and blended. So just a lot going on. More self-directed learning, you'll see some links to those and some other ideas. And there's plenty of content out there created that's, I mean, this one was created by quality folks. This one I was on, again, on the Discovery webinar. So just remember, giving students choice. You might want to watch this this conference. I just want to end with this. This was a motivating non-traditional students. It was from this Center on Education Policy. Very few people have attention deficit in all subjects. So the same kid who can't pay attention to math class might be up all night playing video games. So that daydreamer who draws like Picasso without art, you know, they're just a loser. So this is what this quote says: we can offer a lot of non-traditional ways to learning, like Curtis mentioned, and some of that I've shown you, hopefully to get kids engaged, to get them collaborating, to get them to creating and thinking, and hopefully engaged. And this particular study, if you want to read it, there's a link to it, does talk about alternative teaching styles, extracurricular activities like that, adventure learning, and using technology. So hopefully this has been helpful. I know it's been a lot, but remember, you can go back to the link. I'll put that link in here. In fact, I'll put it at the top, and I guess we're ready to take questions.
Yes, we will start. First of all, I would like to say that I want my children to be in Cameron and Curtis's classroom forever, because this was excellent. You are obviously speaking directly to the generation that many of us have problems speaking to. And I, as a father, often have that problem, but I'm thinking about moving to Hoover now to be in Cameron's classroom. But this was an excellent presentation by both of you. The chat screen was very active. So I imagine that there are people that do have questions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unmute everyone. So now everyone can speak. So if you don't want to speak, or if you don't have a question, then you can mute yourself again. But as of right now, if anyone has a question, please begin. I know that we don't see each other, so someone may speak on top of someone else. So we'll just try to use our manners as best we can.
But Sean, I have one real quick, and it's about, you know, we talking today of terms of the newest, greatest technology that's out there, and everybody's constantly surfing the web all the time to find things, and we put a lot of those pieces in the chat piece today. But I guess my question back to Curtis and Cameron both would be about this. What about old school technology like cardboard boxes and scissors and paper? And I mean, I love the tactile learning and kids getting in. And I'm going to post a piece right now about the Great Cardboard Challenge. And I would encourage you to watch the video on this about a young boy in LA that built this arcade out of cardboard boxes. And I still find my kids in the high school spend more time and get excited using old school technology. And so I don't want to I'm trying to figure out what your thoughts are, because I hate throwing it away, because I think there's still value in that, us playing with refrigerator boxes. So just curious what your thoughts are.
Well, I'll go first. My son actually just completed that challenge in his school it was about 2 weeks ago. And so the way that I saw technology playing into that was the stuff that works with students will continue to work with students. Technology really has two capacities, if you will. One is to make everything more accessible to students, and the other one is to find a way to deepen their understanding. And so it's one thing for my student to be able to do it in class. It's a whole nother thing for him to be able to watch the video multiple times from home, because minimum he can view the link. And then maximum, he and his fellow classmates can create all those, videotape them, archive them, share them out, and comment on each other's projects, and then go back and revise and reprototype and redesign. And so I think the stuff that has worked with students will continue to work with students. Potential of technology really seems to be just that, to make it more accessible, and to find ways to deepen their understanding and to ask them to go back and redesign and reprototype.
And Joe, I piggyback on that. I agree. I think the key thing is choice. My daughter came home. She had this grid of choices to do something, and of course I'm like, why don't you do the video thing? And she's like, I want to make the roller coaster by hand. And so I said, okay. But she went and Googled some things to learn how to do certain things. But then she was going around getting cardboard and all kinds of things and making this. So I think it's important for teachers to honor choice in the way kids show their learning. I don't think technology is going to go away, but I don't think hands-on should go away either, or old school, as you call it. And I just think that teachers need to honor ways that students want to show their learning.
Do we have any other questions?
I put the link out in the chat.
If there were any questions in the chat that we did not get to that you typed in, please feel free to ask those as well. Okay, well, hearing no other questions, then I will wrap it up, and I will say thank you very much to Curtis and Cameron. You've done a fabulous job. A lot of rich information that I'm sure all of us will use. And I'm sure that everyone is pleased with this presentation. And if you have any final words, one or two last sentences to leave us with, please share those now.
I'll round it out first. I guess the way to improve what goes on in the classroom is really to use technology to leverage what happens before and after it. And that'll be my little Twitter post.
I just appreciate the opportunity, and hopefully we've shared some things that may help engage students, and I've enjoyed the night. And the link is now on the first slide, so you can go visit that to see the actual presentation.
Okay, thank you very much. And I'd just like to remind everyone that is still online that this will be posted on our YouTube channel and website, and it will also be tweeted out and on our Facebook page and newsletter. And, you know, everywhere Curtis and Cameron looks, that's where they'll be. We'll make sure that everyone gets to see this. And we thank you again on behalf of Venstoy. And I would like to say good night to all. And we will see you at our next webinar. Thank you.
Thanks.